So, good morning. It is Thursday, May 22nd. And this is the monthly meeting of the Regional Advisory Council. And Madam Chair, we do have a quorum, so I will
call the meeting to order. And as we do have a quorum, maybe what we can do is everybody can go around and introduce themselves, and maybe those folks that are members who are online can go ahead and introduce themselves first. And I think.
And Jared, would you mind calling out the members so that we can go smoothly through that?
So I'm seeing 2 Regional Advisory Council members who are online. We'll start first with Sheila Williams.
Hi, this is Sheila Williams. I'm remote because I am in Avon today. So I don't know what else you want me to say. I represent Park County.
I think that's great. And then our new member, Donald Kowaleski.
Hi, yeah, this is Donald Kowaleski, and I'm calling in. I'm representing the Eastern Plains.
Thank you so much. And if we can go around the room, maybe we can start over here with B.
Hi, B. Babbitt, representing Northern El Paso County.
Laura Cronick, Town of Monument.
Thank you. And I think that's all we have present except for me. And I'm Debbie Levin Stankiewicz, and I am the chair of the Regional Advisory Council. So we will move on. I don't see a hand up. Okay. Why don't we go to agenda approval? And if I could have a motion to accept the agenda.
I so move.
Thank you, Laura. And a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Sheila. And so we'll go ahead then. Any discussion? Any problems with the agenda? And then how? Well, that hand is up. Okay. And I don't know who that is, but if that person has a question, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to let you know I'm here. This is Jeanette Fortin. I'm with Eyesight Connections.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And if we could have a vote then on the agenda approval, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
passes. And then we'll go on to consent items. And we need a motion to approve the minutes from the previous RAC meeting.
I so move.
Thank you. And then a second.
Second. Sheila.
Thank you. And then if we could vote on the minutes, all those in favor to approve the minutes, say aye.
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 Thank you. And then we'll move on to number 4, which is public comments. And I'm going to ask Jared if we have any public comments.
Madam Chair, I'll ask anyone who's online who'd like to provide a public comment to please use the raise hand function. In the meantime, I'll ask anyone in the room who'd like to provide a public comment to please go to the podium at this time. In the meantime, while we're allowing any of those 2 things to happen, I'll just let the Regional Advisory Council know that we did not receive any advance requests for public comment. We did not receive any written public comment that we would have distributed to the members of the council before this meeting. As I've said that, I do not see any hands raised online. I do not see anyone at the podium, so I think we can move forward at your discretion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jared. And number 5 is action items. And we do have an action item today. And that is appointing Susie Walton to the RAC. And she was discussed also at the PPACG, which has accepted her. So she is going to have an at-large appointment. And all of those in favor for that action item, raise your hands or say here. Online.
Here. Aye.
Here.
I'm in favor.
Great, thank you. So Susie
Aye.
Walton, thank you, Don. So Susie Walton will be another new appointment to the RAC, and I can say yay because we now are getting more members, which is wonderful. So we're going to move on to our information items, and the 6A is actually presentations. And I think we'll start with Michelle. and you can come up to the microphone. Michelle Vaca, who is the founder and executive director of Community Dental Health. And if you can go ahead. I think that's on. Is that?
And while she's getting set up, I'm just going to make one comment. Part of why we're having Michelle present now is because next month, and Michelle, you might share this as part of your presentation, but June is Oral Health Month. So as we close out May, we can think about June and taking care of our teeth and our mouth.
Yeah.
Michelle,
Will
you
this
just-
work?
Yeah, you just say next slide and get it all forward for you as you go.
So unfortunately, that podium computer has since died. And so there's a slide advancer on the podium that you're more than welcome to use. Otherwise, if you want to chat out next slide, or I'll leave it up to discretion of the members because that podium doesn't work, so she can't see the slides. If you're good with them sitting at the table, she'd be able to see them there.
Yeah, you'd be welcome to join us at the table.
Maybe it'd be a reach question.
Does it show presenter notes?
She can also show it on.
No.
here.
Oh, well then if I have to wing it, I have to wing it. I hope I remember all the morsels then that I was gonna say. Well, thank you for the timely allowing me to present today. I think what I'm gonna start off with first is to let you hear from our patients and their thoughts and impact that we have with our program for them directly.
Michelle, can you speak up a little bit more? Or maybe, I don't know if that can be turned up or. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Could you, nope. So can you make the video play, please?
It won't have sound.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll continue to wing it then. So this lady that you see, she came to us a few years ago because I think she had spent most of her time taking care of her husband. And so she just let herself go, like we all typically do as caregivers. And so then she was having a lot of problems with her mouth and so when she had gone to the dentist, she couldn't afford, with all the issues that she was having. So then she was really happy. And then there was a gentleman that was searching out support and services to receive dental care. And he couldn't find anybody and he couldn't find anything. So and when he was talking to these other services and organizations and maybe Medicaid, he said, well, what can I do to get support, for oral health care? And they said, well, either you could be homeless and what was his other, it's just something really detrimental to, just to be able to get any support for his oral health care. And, and then the other one was a lady that was just saying how much she appreciates our program and was just asking for continued support and stuff like that and what it meant to her. So that was a recap of my video, which hopefully you guys got the meaning of that. And so our mission as a nonprofit organization is to provide a dental home for all low income, uninsured and underinsured people needing assistance to attain low cost dental care, because we believe that oral health is important to overall health for sound body, mind, and spirit. And really that encompasses almost everybody that we see, that when you do fall into poor oral health, it affects your body and it affects your spirit and even your mental health on depression and hiding away and stuff like that. So we have been working with PPACG since 2013, and um, and the support that we've had really just makes a huge impact in the care that we provide. And I just wanted to show kind of how we've diversified our funding, especially during the years of uncertainty and not, I just didn't want us to be completely dependent on grant funding, because if that went away, I didn't want our program to go away. And so you can see that the highest percentage of our patients, it says insurance, but really what that is Medicare. And that's just from the last 4 years when Medicare finally started having dental benefits and dental riders. But unfortunately, with these riders, it doesn't cover the true needs of the people. It's so minimal that it may just be one cleaning and exam a year or a filling or something. And so the next highest is our OAA funds. And the way that works is we use up whatever benefit that they have with their insurance first, and then we utilize either our Older American Act funds or our senior dental grant, which is the one that's that 13.1%, which is a state grant. And that has more stringent, what is it when?
Concerns.
No, just eligibilities. So, it really falls into age and poverty levels and stuff like that. And so then the next is the next payer of resources, the Older Americans Act. So, and then Medi is Medicaid. So we accept Medicaid. And then we also have self-pay. So what's happened over the years is a lot of people seek us out just for our ethical care that we provide as well. A lot of people have gone to the dentist, that could afford it, and they're told that they need thousands of dollars worth of work that they really may not truly need. And so they come to us either for a second opinion or word of mouth, um, and seek care from our providers. So with our grant funds, I've broken down the procedures that we provide. And the highest amount is diagnostic, and that includes x-rays and exams. And so it's a higher amount because like every x-ray is included in that too. So, but we have to figure out what our patients need, to make a true treatment plan. And then the next is then the next is preventive. So, having cleanings and taking care of the periodontal needs and stuff like that, and maintaining the work that we provide. So we really, what's really nice about me having kind of more control in the program is I can tell the patients that, look, if we're going to provide you care, then you need to value the care that we're providing and maintain that care. And I think that that's been a real successful modality as well, because they know that we care for it and it weeds out the people that are just in for a quick fix and really not caring about their oral health. So then restorative would be fillings and clowns. How long am I allowed to do this for?
Keep going. You've
Okay.
got plenty of time.
And then, and for, you know, then there are a lot of people that need dentures, you know, and so that's unfortunate where there is such a higher advanced disease and neglect that we have to decide which teeth are salvageable or if we have to go into dentures. And then we did just begin providing root canals because there are people that need that. And, you know, if they're important teeth to hold in a partial denture, and we need to save that. But so most of those are all percentages, but on the root canal, it came out to 0% because that's 7 root canals that we've done. So it's a higher end procedure again, and we, you know, we limit that because we don't want to spend all our money on these high end procedures. You know, you could spend most of the funds on a handful of people. So it's important for us to spread out our funds and provide as much care as possible. And then a couple of years ago, you know, when bad things happen or uncertain things happen, it you know, good does come out of it. And so when we were displaced from the senior center, uh, we took our time and we found this big, beautiful building. And it's more than what we needed because um, but when we found it, my intent was to try and rebuild the collaborations that the senior center had. That was, you know, a really sad closure of that because all of us in that unit really worked together and referred back and forth. And so our offices are it's a 2-story building, and we operate on the 2nd floor. And then we have office space available to try and bring adjunctive services. And I've taken my time between kind of remodeling that we've had with the ARPA funds, but also really bringing in, you know, people that serve our aging community. So we have right now we have two physical therapists. A nurse is looking at coming in. And then we also have a veterans group that is helping with veterans. So we have a couple of spaces still available, and hopefully we'll keep getting good people in there. And we wouldn't be able to do what we do without our amazing staff. So this is everybody in our Colorado Springs location. We have an oral surgeon and 2 dentists and a denture technician and our dental hygienist and dental assistants. So even though we're a nonprofit, it's set up to be exactly like a private practice, but more on the traditional dental care where it's patient-centered care rather than production. And so I had asked the staff about, oh, my video's not going to work again. I'm kind of a funny person too. So that guy on the left, his mouth and head kind of moves funny. But okay. Well, so I asked my staff, you know, because we get a lot of feedback from our patients. So I asked for some impactful stories, you know, that I could share. And so my hygienist, one of the ones was we had a gentleman that had been coming to us for a year, and he had a lot of disease in his mouth. And so she was working with him on getting his oral hygiene, you know, under control and his gums and all the disease taken care of there. But he did have some teeth that were infected and really needed to be extracted. But he didn't want that. And he just kept fighting, that treatment plan, which, of course you could understand. But my hygienist was really taking the time to educate him how it was affecting his physical health. And so finally he had those teeth extracted, and he was kind of difficult fighting us on that, but we just kept working with him and kept trying to educate him. And so after he did have those extractions done, he came back amazed at how much better he felt. He was dealing with uncontrolled high blood pressure. His blood pressure was under control. He was diabetic, and he's able to maintain the diabetes, through his nutrition, and just overall feeling so much better. And so people just, there's such a disconnect between medical and dental, but there is a lot of relationship between what's happening in your mouth and what's happening throughout your body. I've experienced it in the nursing homes, and I've seen people pass away where it was just kind of put down as timely expiration, but I saw the amount of disease and bacteria in their mouth that I kind of knew really what the cause was. So hopefully someday, we'll really get medical and dental really collaborating and working together. It's something that will come down the pike, and any chance I ever get to talk about change, I will do that. So we'll see. Maybe you'll see me in a legislation day talking to them and whatever. Let's see what else. So, but more than anything, over the years, your guys' support has just been so instrumental in our success and our presence in the community. And what you guys do, you may not understand how impactful you are, not just with my program, but just in the communities. So I am from Arizona, and I try and help my parents out and get care, and their area agency on aging doesn't hold a candle to you guys. And, even as close as Pueblo, the support that we have versus what we get in Pueblo is also incomparable. So I just really want you guys to know that what you do is just huge. And just like I'd love to replicate our program nationally because it's a need, I wish other area agencies on aging could see your guys' heart and vision and replicate that too. That's what else. So those are our happy patients, and I just thank you for your time. Any questions?
I have a question, Michelle. So when someone comes in and they're found eligible to receive, they fit into that 30% bracket or that 23, how do you if you think they have Medicare, and you said, it's very limited, but how do you go ahead and figure that out so that you can get that, maybe that one cleaning or whatever that you said is approved by Medicare? I didn't even know Medicare had any dental
And
monies.
if you could go back to the page that had all my staff on it, I'd appreciate that, because Katrina, well, no, I mean all of them, but Katrina, who's on the top with the brown shirt with white flowers, she's my billing and grants manager, and she's so amazing. But so is Casey's in the middle with just her face right there. And Kayla, who's on the upper right side, even though she's young, she is a rare gem. She's so amazing. I think she's like only 23. Yeah, and she's an old soul and a hard worker. But so those three people, what we do is with insurance, we can pull up their policy and see what their benefits are. And then we use up whatever it is. And so the writers, and we also try and counsel some of um, our patients on Medicare because the amount of money that they're spending to buy that rider and not get the coverage that they truly need, our grants will pay for it. You know what I mean? So they really shouldn't be buying that rider when we have the funding to support them.
So is that through a Medicare supplemental?
Yes.
Or is it Advantage plans that
I
provide
think they're supplementals. Yeah. Yeah.
Medicare supplement? I mean, there probably is some dental through Medicare Advantage, right?
Medicare Advantage has dental benefits, but with traditional Medicare, it's the supplement that has the rider for dental
Okay,
benefits.
I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that there was anything. up
And
there.
then Medicaid covers adult benefits
Right.
as well.
Right, that
So,
I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Michelle, I did have a question for you. I really love the slide that you have of the mind-body connection. And I work in primary care physician offices. This would be incredibly beneficial for my providers because they're always talking to their patients about getting their oral exams, but I don't think that they have the true visual of the impact and the significance of that relationship. And if you wouldn't mind sharing that slide with me,
Oh,
I'd be more than happy
absolutely.
to share your information with them as well. So you could develop a relationship with the primary care providers to,
Yeah, and we can
Yeah.
refer back and forth.
of course.
Yeah, I spoke at the Healthier Rural West conference a few years ago, and it was more medical based people, and I was the only dental speaker, and it was I did have a handful of people in my session, but that interest wasn't there, and the thing that I just asked one simple thing that could bring about that is on the health history, just ask, when was your last cleaning and checkup? Not your last dental visit, because a lot of people will go to the dentist and get a tooth pulled because they were in pain. So then that wouldn't really give you, like, oh, you were just to the dentist last month. That's not the true information that you're trying to get. And so just to have that question on the health history could help your providers start that conversation and continue, like, just like I have with, maintaining the care that we're providing. If your providers are trying to, control uncontrolled diabetes, well, what's going on in their mouth? And
It is one of their intake questions. When
is
was
it?
your last dental
Excellent.
exam?
Oh, beautiful. You're rare.
Yeah.
You're rare. So yeah, I'll send that slide.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a hand up. Yes, there is. Sheila.
Yes, how can we refer clients to you?
Well, I didn't put my last slide in with our contact info, but we are in the resource guides and everything. I could give you our phone number. Our Colorado Springs office phone number is 719-310-3315. And then we have an office in Pueblo, so even though I know it's not in but that one's 719-542-5300.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for being such a valuable partner. Your staff is wonderful to work with, and you are wonderful to work with. Just really appreciate your responsiveness, and so the RAC can know just how responsive you are with inquiries and requests for documentation and with the audit and everything. It was lovely to see you and your staff in person. So really appreciate you, Michelle, and it's been lovely to work with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll echo that as well. It's been quite a privilege to work with Michelle over the years. We go back to my senior center days when she would pull up in her van and set up a little cleaning room in one of our back classrooms, and so people could come. And that was when she was, still known as Senior Mobile Dental, and would come to the senior center. And then over the years, having the location there at Golf Acres, just down the sidewalk from the senior center. But very excited about the new location, and really excited for how you're serving the community and even expanding into Pueblo. So it's
Thank
very
you.
exciting. And there he just threw up a slide for your address and phone number.
Oh, look at you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And this is Melissa. I just wanted to add that I come from a family of dentists. My father is a practicing dentist in Denver still, and my uncle and his wife are university professors in Florida. He was the dean of the University of Florida's dental school for many, many years. And kind of in his quote unquote retirement now, he works for a university that's Nova University in South Florida.
Mhm.
And they just told me the other day that they received a huge grant from the Alzheimer's Association to do
Wow.
research on oral health and Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
And I hadn't given that much thought until, I thought I work for the Area Agency on Aging, and I don't know what the latest research is at all on Alzheimer's and oral health. And so to see that, again, that chart or that slide that you put up with the oral health and tying to, chronic disease management,
Mhm.
I'm kind of curious now what has been published around Alzheimer's and oral health. And I don't know if you know anything just right off the top of your head, or is this a brand new area of research to really be digging in? And Jody from the Alzheimer's Association days might know too, or has it been going on for 20 years that they've been researching oral health and Alzheimer's, or I don't know.
They've been finding a link to that, but not as conclusive as diabetes, cardiovascular, and preterm pregnancies. So we knew those were for sure ones. And so, yes, Alzheimer's is a newer one just from the anti-inflammatory process. And that's, oral disease just causes those anti-inflammatory responses that if it's not taken care of, your body's going to constantly be in an inflamed state until that oral disease is taken care of. So, good.
Jason, will we have this slide presentation available through this? Oh, excuse me, Jared. I was looking at you. That's why I said that. Will we have the slide presentation available for people to be able to look at it, or?
We can, and if we want to try the videos, we might be able to get it to work. I'll leave it up to everyone if they want to do that, but yeah, no, we can make it accessible. It is a larger file because of the videos.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Michelle.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
And our next presentation is Colorado Legal Services, and we have Ariel Batty. Did I pronounce that? Beatty correctly. And you are a managing attorney there. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Got my notes in front of me as well, but thank you for having us here this morning. Can you hear me okay? Great, okay. Okay, welcome. Many of you probably remember Sarah Lipka. She was the managing attorney until April of last year, and now she's our Southern Colorado Regional Director. So I've been in this role just about a year, so there's still a lot of things that are new to me, a lot of places that are new, but mostly a little more settled than last year. So if you haven't heard of Colorado Legal Services, we are a statewide nonprofit law firm. Many states refer to Colorado Legal Services or our organization as legal aid. It's free legal services. We do not charge our clients. We have 200, about a little more than 200 staff across 13 offices statewide. We serve low income clients in civil legal matters across the state. And so our applicants generally must qualify by their income. We serve 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. Asset qualifications, these are set by Congress and not by us. So we must abide by those. And then whether or not they're a citizen or non-citizen, although we can typically help non-citizens, and we don't report to ICE, which is important because I think people are very worried about going to court or filing a case or doing other things. So that's a big concern for us. We aren't allowed to represent individuals who are incarcerated. So that sometimes comes up, but not as much in the senior realm usually. And then, of course, this funding, our Title III funding, allows us to help seniors who are past that 200% of the federal poverty guideline, which is very important because there are so many seniors who are perhaps receiving Social Security and a small pension, and that puts them just a little bit over those fairly restrictive income guidelines, but not definitely nowhere near an amount that would allow them to hire a private attorney. So that's really important funding for us. It really allows us to serve folks who would, I think, otherwise be in a gap between our services and between a private attorney or a sort of modest means attorney like through a bar association. So that's just an important note there. Our mission statement, of course, has some inherent tension in it to provide meaningful access to high quality civil legal services in the pursuit of justice for as many low income persons and members of vulnerable populations throughout Colorado as possible. There's a tension there in providing services to as many people as we can while also maintaining a high quality. That's very important to us to do both in a meaningful way. So we've existed since 1925. So this is our centennial year. There were 3 agencies throughout Colorado that merged in 1999. So specifically in this region, it was the Pikes Peak Legal Services. We're governed by a board of 27, 18 attorneys and 9 financially eligible individuals. Many of those folks are actually former clients who agree to serve as board members. Which is huge because they can provide input on what we've actually done for them. So here's just not super important for us today. You guys know the area we serve because we're here presenting to you, but our particular office, we're actually involved in 11 different counties, some of which we share. So I also manage our Salida office as a satellite. So we're here in Colorado Springs, and then we have one attorney out in Salida who's working as a one-woman show. And she's awesome. She mainly covers Park, Chaffee, Custer, and Lake. But we do have some shared counties like Fremont County and Lincoln County. So our funding sources are fairly diverse. I want to say we have officially over 60 grants at this time. Which is really helpful because we don't always know what will happen with especially congressional budget and federal funding. So this particular piece is something we're actively working to maintain and diversify to make sure that we can continue services for clients. So we have a wide variety. You may see LSC, that's the congressional piece. That's what we're awarded through a congressional budget that gets passed every year. COLTAF, that next piece, attorneys are required to maintain something called a COLTAF account. It's a trust account where funds sit, maybe while they're using them up or held during the pendency of litigation. Those are interest-bearing accounts, and we are able to receive the interest from those accounts. That helps fund us. We have quite a few other little grants that I won't go through each of them because there's too many. But you can see we have kind of a variety of sources and each with their different requirements. So One thing to know is if we report 30 clients assisted for this particular Title III fund, we may not be able to count those clients for a different fund. So we might be helping, 20 seniors on a different grant. So that's just something to know about how our funding source works and how our different grant reports work. We provide a range of services, advice when appropriate, brief services that might be filling out paperwork for someone. An example of this is when someone's having a social security issue, we might help them fill out their request for reconsideration, and just help them send that form in. Our full representation, which can be quite a wide variety. I'll go through our case types because we do so many different things. So we're over in county court, district court, administrative hearings, federal court, the appellate court as needed. I have a current case with the Court of Appeals. So we have kind of a wide variety. We have 10 staff attorneys here in Colorado Springs. So we're much bigger than we used to be, and yet this is the busiest courthouse in the state right now. The 4th Judicial District has the highest domestic relations or family law filings for the 3rd or 4th year in a row. We have a quarter of the state's evictions in Colorado Springs. So believe it or not, we are the sort of busiest front line that there is. So I always say if I had the funding, I would triple our office just to do what we want to do. That's how busy it is. So our core practice areas are things you hopefully have heard about, but housing, which is primarily tenant defense. We also have a home defense project that is statewide that works on foreclosure defense. And I will say we get a significant amount of senior clients for that program. Housing is our biggest area for seniors the last couple of years. And it used to be that domestic relations or family law was the biggest area for any group of clients over the last few years, and that's flipped to now be housing. Consumer is something that encompasses bankruptcies, that encompasses debt collection defense, helping folks manage their debt, sometimes helping them deal with creditors, sometimes just helping them get an agreement so they don't, spend $200 a month on that payment plan, but $40. And then public benefits. This is one I think folks maybe don't know we handle as much. That could be Social Security appeals. That could be SNAP, TANF, OAP, various public benefits that many of our clients receive if they're having an overpayment, an underpayment, a wrongful denial. We can assist with those things. So if you see someone dealing with those things, please send them our way. I think this is when I was the only attorney doing this until about 2019 in the Springs office. And now we have 2 other attorneys who do it. So we really enjoy those. I think they're a great service to folks to make sure that they have food and shelter and have their basic necessities covered. We also have a few specialty projects that these are statewide, although I will say we have an ID attorney in our office, as well as someone from our survivor services unit in our office. So that would be people who have been trafficked, folks who have been, victims of crime here in the US, but are not documented. We can assist with those. Our ID project is one of our busiest and fastest growing projects. That's an area where people don't have papers or driver's license, any kind of identification. And for whatever reason, maybe having trouble obtaining that. It's a fairly common problem in our community. And it can be things like, I don't have my birth certificate from 60 years ago. Now the state won't give me, this benefit. What do I do? That's where we can get involved and actually request those records and help folks obtain what they need. So that's a really, I can't probably stress enough how much that service has just grown over the past 3-4 years. We have a telehealth partnership that's primarily in Denver, where we have hospital workers who are screening for issues and sending them to us. We've done a few trainings with Children's Hospital here, but hoping to expand that a little more in the Springs. A few of these don't apply as much in Colorado Springs, but we do have some basic estate planning. We have a couple volunteer attorneys that's all they do. And then we have record sealing, which is where we help people seal older criminal records that may be a barrier to getting housing or getting certain public benefits. So that's a big deal for many folks, so that they can actually get into, perhaps assisted living, even though they committed one crime 20 years ago, right? Please feel free to interrupt me too if you have questions about any of this. So here's just a few numbers. So in 2024, I know this is a lot of text. We opened, and this is just new cases, 368 cases for seniors in El Paso, Park, and Teller County. Just a caveat that doesn't include all the seniors we served, just some seniors in these three counties. It also doesn't include existing cases. So for example, one of my clients that I was just able to close out her case recently, I had her senior case, and she was a Title III senior since 2022. And it was just to share a little bit about it, because she was a really fun client. She came to us to Colorado Legal Services because the court saw something was going on in her divorce case and appointed a guardian ad litem for her. That's not a guardian in the sense of a true guardianship. It's somebody who, for that court case, helps represent that person and make sure they're not being taken advantage of, making sure that they understand what's going on in the proceedings, and is appointed for that case. I work with this guardian ad litem fairly frequently, and she called me up and said, "Hey, I really need your help." And I said, "Why not?" And here, it took us 2 whole years to sort of figure out what was going on. Thankfully, her now ex-husband was very cooperative. But the client had a lot of confusion due to some declining mental health that she was having. We were never officially able to get her diagnosed because she wouldn't complete a psychiatric evaluation. So if I had to guess, I would say we were looking at some dementia or something, right? But I wasn't able to complete that piece. But we were able to get her into an assisted living ultimately, and sort of have some wraparound services to help her get into a place where she was secure, where she was safe. But ultimately, that case did take over 2 years. So when I say caveat for our numbers, keep in mind some of our cases stay open for a long period of time. Social Security appeals tend to also be a little bit more lengthy. We assist seniors in every area of law that we practice. But as I mentioned, our largest area in 2024 was eviction defense. And that could be private landlord tenants, just any old private landlord. That could be subsidized housing where they're receiving some state or federal assistance. It also could be things like assisted living, senior living, and nursing homes. And sometimes that just means we go in and negotiate. It doesn't always mean there's a lawsuit or a case filed. Sometimes it's figuring out if we can make some accommodations that work for someone, and help them stay housed. That's our real goal. Is we want people to stay in housing, to be stable, and to not be on the streets. That's what we're hoping to avoid for our seniors. As I mentioned, we also have our foreclosure defense project, and that can be a big deal, especially if someone has entered into a reverse mortgage or has some tricky financial things. Maybe their Social Security was cut for an overpayment and now they can't pay their mortgage. So that's a really important project that unfortunately we have seen an uptick in applications for that in 2025. We also assisted in bankruptcy, debt collection, and other consumer matters. That's a big one because sometimes seniors don't know that they have certain rights. I'm always surprised at the amount of people who are worried they will go to jail for not being able to pay their debt. That is an alarmingly high number of folks that come to us thinking, if I don't pay this debt, if I don't choose this debt over food, I might go to jail. And so it's really important when we can explain to them, you have other options. We can figure something out for you, but you need to eat. You should have food. So that's just a huge area. Our social worker, Amy Keckler, who couldn't be here today, she opened, so she assisted in more cases than this, but she opened 105 cases last year. And if you've met Amy, she's just awesome. She will go to bat for our seniors. She will, touch base with anyone she can. She has a very close relationship with Adult Protective Services. I know I've gotten a few of my cases from Amy coming down the hall and saying, "Can you please help this person? APS just called me." So she just does wonderful work, and I can't say enough about Amy. We do have eviction clinics. This is something where you may be running into to clients that you work with who need help like immediately. This is every Tuesday and Thursday, walk-ins from 8:30 to 11. Our attorneys are there later, but to give us time to process, we ask that they show up between 8:30 and 11. It's in the courthouse. Many of the clerks there know to refer people to us. Um, it's just a good quick service, and sometimes when folks come to you in crisis, that's what you need for them. Um, and then there are some areas we can't assist. Again, this is from Congress. This is something I can't change. But business related matters, criminal matters, dependency and neglect, which hopefully doesn't come up for your seniors, but you never know. Emancipation, mental health holds, employment issues, although we do have a volunteer that helps with unemployment hearings. So that's a limited area we can help with. Personal injury, traffic and municipal court, and then vehicles that have been towed or impounded. So there's an areas we can assist. And the reason for that is usually there's either a right to court appointed attorney through, like a criminal case, or through a dependency neglect, or attorney that will take things on a contingent basis. How to apply for us? You can, of course, call. Easy, right? Online, we do, I don't know, probably thousands of online applications a day. I think we get something like 4,000 applications a month statewide. And then walk-in Monday through Friday. We say 8:30 to 12 on 1 to 3. Our front desk is at lunch from 12 to 1, but our lobby is open. And if folks need to come by during that time, they can come in, sit down, have a cup of coffee, wait and get started on their paperwork. And I will say, if one of you wants to directly refer to like me or Amy and you reach out, we'd rather you just reach out and say, I have someone I think might need your help, and we can vet it from there. Instead of saying, I'm not sure if they qualify, so I'm not going to send them. I'd rather you just send them over. We'll take a look. Hopefully, maybe we can put you in the right direction, even if it's not something we assist with. Do you have any questions about that? I know I went through a lot of data.
Not a question necessarily, but certainly a comment. Recently, yesterday and today, there have been reports that Colorado Springs used to be number 3 in the nation as a place to live, and now it's fallen to below 400. And the 2 reasons were affordable housing and crime. I think you nailed it.
Thank you. But I saw that. I was pretty shocked. That's a huge drop. I'm not sure how they calculated that, I'll say. But certainly the housing growth here and the lack of affordable housing, it's something we've seen very much in our office on a daily basis. Yeah.
I have a question. Have you noticed any increase in Social Security cases since DOJ took over and went into Social Security offices?
Yes, it's created a lot of chaos. And just to speak very frankly, when we've called Social Security on cases we have, sometimes they don't have an answer for us. And that's been a little frustrating, especially for our clients who are living off of their Social Security each month. The rules keep changing. You may have seen the 100% withholding for overpayments.
Yes.
That has been scaled back to 50%. And someone in the House introduced a bill to limit all Social Security overpayments to a 10% recovery.
And that's what it was before, I think, right?
Yeah, that is what was in practice before.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have been able to get some waivers for folks and some exceptions, through other processes. So if you see those things happening, please send them our way. We are trying to track those.
So I have a question. I've asked a lot of different people. I haven't been able to find the answer. So if people don't get their Social Security check and their Medicare payment comes out of their Social Security check, do you have any idea? Are you getting people denied Medicare because of that? Or do you have any idea what's going on?
I can't say I know truly what's going on the higher level, but what I have been seeing come through our office, just our limited scope, is that even if they're withholding the Social Security, the Medicare is still in place.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're seeing something else though, again,
yeah,
I
no.
would love to know that.
Yeah, no, but I think that anybody that I've talked to who's a senior has been very concerned that they're going to be denied getting Medicare because their payment isn't
Mhm.
going to Medicare monthly
Oh, that
because
makes sense. Yeah.
it's coming out of their social
Yeah.
security check. So that's good to know that that's
Yeah.
still
And
continuing.
if a senior is in that situation, they should at least temporarily qualify for Medicaid as well. So I would encourage them to go to, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Benefits in Action. They're a great organization and they help folks apply for benefits. So that's been something I've been recommending a lot is just make sure you're covered some way, and being proactive is the best way to go quickly as soon as you think you may have an issue.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, I'd like, just thank you for highlighting Amy's work. That was, several of you may recall, during COVID, there were some ideas shared about, Sarah called me and said, you know, we have folks coming in and they're effectively, our lawyers our attorneys are having to do case management, and that's not their, that's not their forte. And how can we come up with a different solution? And so, we talked about that. We did, Melody worked with the state to effectively create a line that would allow us to do that, and we worked with the state in order to ensure the client attorney privilege was extended to Amy for the work that she was doing, because sometimes the work that she was able to do was effectively reduce the amount of time that an attorney would have to work with that individual, therefore saving time, saving finances, saving those funds for higher priority cases, but also to reduce the return of clients who were having issues. And so really getting them connected with the community. And so I'm really pleased to see that program is still going strong and Amy's still there. So thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, Amy is invaluable. I would clone her if I could. I mean, one of my goals, probably not this year, certainly, but in the future would be to have a social worker in every area of our office because it's been so valuable. And I mean, especially sometimes getting somebody into secure housing. Amy has just been amazing for that. Um, she even helped a poor client we had who had to go into assisted living. She helped him find a home for his dog. That would still keep him updated about his dog. She literally drove around to rescues and figured something out for this dog because she was like, this poor man was very worried about leaving his dog. And that's Amy. She just goes above and beyond and gets it done so that people can be safe and secure.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I'll highlight something that you mentioned as well just now. And to my knowledge, it's still true. We're the only region, the only office that does have a case manager doing this type of work. We created the program with some of the Emergency CARES Act funds as a pilot. I love pilots because it gives you a lot of flexibility in how it looks and work out the kinks. But we did start as a pilot. It's now part of the funding provided to Colorado Legal. And folks at the state do recognize that we're the only office that has that. And so our AAA network, there's a level of jealousy there that we were able to bring something and make it work. And now, several years later, still an active part of the work that's being done. So thank you for that.
It sounds like it frees up your attorneys to do more of the legal issues. And that I think is probably really beneficial.
It is very beneficial. I'll just say sometimes you're in court prepared to do the things that we need to do as attorneys, like argue a case. And you have a client next to you who is having probably one of the worst days of their life. It is so valuable to have Amy, sitting next to that client, being able to reassure them while we do the work we need to do to help them. It's a very, very valuable partnership.
B, you had a question?
As many of you know, I answer phones as a volunteer once a week. And what I often find is that people who are facing eviction call at the last minute, you know, I'm going to be thrown out in 2 days or something like that. And of course, we refer them to you. Are you still able to help those people who procrastinate, I guess, in getting help?
We do our best. That's primarily why we have our eviction clinic now, which is walk-in. You know, no one has to call ahead or anything. They just show up the day of. That's primarily where that came from, because most of the time, you know, unfortunately, folks maybe receive the paperwork 10 days ago, but they come in and say, I have to file something today or I'm getting kicked out. We say, okay, let's figure out what we can do. And so that is a frequent situation where we can assist. There are sometimes where we can just give advice and say, there's an order entered, you need to go. But we do have a housing social worker that's through a separate grant. She's not a senior specific grant, but she frequently works with seniors. And she can help sometimes with those cases as well. You're welcome.
Well, thank you, Ariel. It was very, very informative.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right, we'll move on then to 6B Membership Subcommittee. And I can't remember whether we officially named Jen, who's going to take over the membership chair.
So you get to do that now if you want, or you can do it during your chair report, with either one.
I'll do it now. I'll do it now. And I'm glad that we're going to have you do that. I know that Melissa and I came up with a variety of things that this chair could do or participate in. I don't know if you've actually seen that, but we can, you know, hopefully you'll expand that role. So thank you and welcome in doing that. All right, we'll move on to C, which is the Strategic Review Committee, and Laura is the chair of that committee. And I just want to say that I'm understanding that there will be a report out in June. Is that correct?
Well, we missed May. May kind of got us, and I just spoke with Melissa about this morning. We'll do something in June, and I think we'll just have to, you know, June, July rather than June.
Do we still have openings on that committee for members who may want to join and be part of that committee?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I'm getting the nod.
And since we have 3 new members right now,
Which is why I brought it up.
Yeah, when we do the orientation with them, we'll encourage folks to think about SRS for sure, TRS.
Okay. And anything else, Laura, that you need to add?
Nope, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to D, which is the TRS subcommittee. And that is the Technical Review Subcommittee, and Gordon Rick is our chair, and he is not here, but I don't think we have anything new at this point.
No, nothing new at this point, Madam Chair. We are at the midpoint of our 2-year contract with providers, and so that is an option letter process. The goal is to ultimately provide the same level of funding proportional to the ultimate funding allocation from the federal government and the state. And so we will not be meeting for an annual allocation for that.
Great. Well, thank you. We'll just head right into your director's report.
All right. All right. So that's where I'll kick off. Funding is always the highlight of sometimes of these reports. So we have received some good news just this week. The State Unit on Aging did receive their federal award letter, which points to flat funding compared to last year. And so we will be continuing to move forward with the current 75% funding scenario, though, because that, as one of the State Unit on Aging staff mentioned, that cruise ship has long left the port. There's no way to turn around the process at this point for the contracting process at the state, much less our process. And so, because ours is ultimately dependent on the state, we have to continue with that. So we did lose some state funding, but not nearly as much as anticipated. State funding, as you know, there was a $1.2 billion deficit in the budget this year. And so there was some funding that dropped on the state side. However, not nearly as deep as we had expected. They were able to pull funding from other areas that were not directly related to the state fund for senior services primary budget line. So that is good. On the federal side, as you know, we've been under a continuing resolution, which expires September 30th. And there's been concerns between the fact that the Older Americans Act has not been reauthorized yet. That did expire back September 30th of last year. But even without the reauthorization, the congressional funding allocation, it does serve a 2-year cycle. And so our State Unit on Aging, which is our administrators that receive both the federal and state funding and manage that distribution by the funding formula, have confirmed as of Monday that they did receive the federal award letter. And as I mentioned, that points to flat funding. Any other year, that we would grumble about flat funding. With the uncertainty we're dealing with right now, we will take it and we will do the best that we absolutely positively can with that funding. But as I mentioned, for providers who may be online, we have 3 providers in the room. Just so you know, the option letters will show the 75% that we've been talking about and you've been working on with us. The state unit does anticipate requesting, if they haven't already, requesting the opportunity to right size our contracts much sooner than later this fall. There was an anticipation that might not happen until the usual carryover time, which is at the beginning of the new federal fiscal year. But they are hoping, now that they have a letter in hand, that they can get those contracts right sized, which means in turn we will be able to right size our contracts with our providers that much sooner. So providers, it's good news. We were happy to hear that on Monday and be watching for more updates for Melody and I related to contracts, and especially since we'll be able to do that through a contract amendment. You'll just be alerted when that is executed when we have that. Along those lines, part of my role, especially taking a hard look in the last 6 months of every fiscal year, is our spend down. We do show that within our ARPA funding, which expires June 30th, that we do have a balance of about 23,000, and I'm in the process right now of working with our ARPA contractors to determine where we can reallocate that. So that's really good. It's been good to see our providers work toward that end, especially since the original expiration date was supposed to be June of 26. The feds did pull those funds back, and the state was able to rebalance some things to extend us into this June. So we've got about 50 days left in this state fiscal year, and so looking to spin that down. Along that line, though, this is the time of year, and since the beginning of the calendar year, where I look at overall spend down and determine where we might be able to reallocate funds to ensure that we can come to as close as possible to zero. And so that's still in process as well. So we've had some good outreach. I want to thank Jason, since you're in the room. Jason DeBueno's here from Silver Key Senior Services. They hosted their annual Silver Key Senior Summit at Great Wolf Lodge last week. I have heard great things. I wasn't able to be there in person on the day. I did the setup the night before. And so thank you for allowing us to be in there that evening before, because I heard it was just a fantastic turnout to the senior summit. And so we had staff, we had volunteers, we had some of you all were there, and so I sure do appreciate you being part of that great day. Another outreach opportunity coming up is that we're participating in the senior games June 6th through June 8th. That's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Melissa will be sharing more information, specific information about if you would like to wear one of our sponsor T-shirts and work at a volunteer booth, then she'll have some of that information coming up soon as she works with the organizers. But we're excited to have that opportunity. And then just this morning, we received our annual state assessment closing letter. And so very excited for all the work that Melody and Jen have done in these last few months to make sure, working with our providers and making sure that we had a clean report. We do have just a couple of very minor areas that we're going to be working on with the provider, but overall, a very good report. So we're excited to see that. Staff, is there anything else that we need to add? All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And for my RAC chair report, I just want to welcome our new members. It's really great to have, I think, 3 new members coming on. And hopefully when you go through your training session with Melissa, I'm hoping that I can participate as well. But you'll hear a lot about our subcommittees, and hopefully some of you may be interested in participating in our subcommittees, which don't necessarily don't happen in person. So don't feel that if you don't live in Colorado Springs, you live in some of our other counties, that you can participate in those subcommittees as well. And that's really all I have for my report today. Any concerns or questions from anyone? Great. And I also want to thank Jason. The activities that you had and everything else went really well. It was really good to be there. I had not been to that location. The first year I was here, I went to the one downtown, that was Silver Key, and then last year I did the other 2 in the area. But this year I went to the newer location, and it was great. So thank you. The yellow books disappeared like crazy. Yeah. So it was really, we had a lot of people at our booth. I was incredibly surprised at the number of people that we had asking about information. So it was really, really good. So we'll go on. Number 7 is discussion items. I don't think we have any discussion items at this time.
No, I'll just point out we are moving rather quickly through our agenda. Lunch will be delivered at 11:45. If you were planning to stay for the multi-sector plan on aging review and discussion, so we'll, at the end of this, we'll adjourn and just hang out for a little bit until lunch gets here, because it was publicly noticed for a noon start time. We do need to hold to that. But I think what we can do is go ahead and share some of the materials as we start rearranging the room a little bit. And if you want to take a look at those, you're most welcome to do that. But we will need to hold, since it was publicly noticed, and we'll have more than two of you staying here. We expect we do need to hold to that time, but yeah, we'll merge into that as soon as we can.
And last on our agenda is our meeting schedule. And for those who are new, we're doing traveling in June and July. And so our next meeting, June the 26th at 10, is at the Little Chapel Hills in Divide. And I think that if people are in Colorado Springs might need transportation, I know that they've worked that out in the past. Executive committee meetings, which are on Zoom, which are the chairpersons from the different subcommittees, and they meet on the first Wednesday of each month at 11. And then the upcoming PPACG meeting schedule, which you can attend, which you can Zoom into, is the second Tuesday?
The PPACG board
Yeah,
meeting? Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, second Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Oh, it's on here. Okay, second Wednesday, okay. And they're interesting to attend sometimes because there are issues that do affect seniors. Although we have staff at the area agency that attends those meetings. So do I need to make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, we need to fully close the RAC meeting.
Okay, so I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I need a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jen. And so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.